At Vincis, we have spent the last 20 years continually refining and improving our 2-day training program so that we can deliver effective training that will make a difference to people's presentation the following day. Now, in order to do that, we don't do what most presentation skills courses do, which is focus on soft skills. We focus on what we like to call hard skills. And here's the difference. Soft skills are all of those skills that aren't black and white. There's no definite answer. They're a set of skills that need practice, that need development, that are about building confidence and building your individual personal skill level as a presenter, regardless of the presentation. Whereas for us, hard skills are all of those things that are scientifically testable. We can test what the duration of a presentation is. We can test what the pace of a presentation should be. And we can use what we know about cognitive psychology and behavioral psychology in order to give advice about what needs to happen tomorrow to improve your presentation. And most of those things then don't need that much practice. You just need to understand. Do not give a presentation for 4 hours. Give it for 20 minutes, and here's what you should do if you have to do it for more than 20 minutes. Those things are just facts, and if you understand them, you can improve your presentation. We do work on soft skills, but we do that with a coaching mentality. So we have to see people over a long period of time, short interactions, watch their videos, feedback on them, help them improve their skill sets. But in a training course, you get a better effect if you concentrate on hard skills. And so this is where our training sits. Now, most people will tell you the single biggest problem most presenters have is a lack of confidence. And just so that you understand how we approach this, we don't think this is true. Right? Most people think there is a straight line between the presenter's confidence and their ability to deliver a successful presentation. And this is a myth. So too is the fact that it's constant. Right? Clearly, people's confidence levels affect their performance, but not necessarily in the way that you think. For us, we think it's probably a standard distribution curve. So at this end, we've got people who completely lack confidence, Mr. Bean, get up to give a presentation and can't get their words out. And you can see early on, this looks like a straight line, right? Because it looks like a little bit boost of confidence gets a big improvement in their performance. But actually, there is a danger that at the other end, you have the David Brents of this world who are so self-confident that they're also completely unself-aware. They don't realize that they're delivering a really effective presentation in their head, but actually in front of the audience, they're not getting their message across. And so there's a happy medium between this where the really professional, really good orators in the world sit. They're confident enough so that their nerves aren't a problem, but they're not so confident that they can't take guidance, they can't concentrate on what they're supposed to deliver and how they're supposed to deliver it. And we think in the training course that there are 3 key steps for managing people's confidence, building it and or pulling it back depending on what the issue is with the individual. And those 3 steps are this. Step number 1 is to make sure people understand that presentations aren't just done by the presenter, that actually it requires interaction with the audience. That interaction may be Q&As, but it may just be reading the body language, reading the eye contact, slowing up, speeding up, putting the information across and looking for the cues from the audience to say that they've understood it and it's time to move on. That interaction with the audience is essential for managing the success of the presentation. The next building block then is making sure you've got the language right, that you don't create the wrong impression by using the wrong language. And some of that is about unintentional messages. You say something with one intent, but it's heard and received completely differently than the way you intended it. And then the third building block is to really understand exactly what the message is that you're trying to deliver and the objectives of the presentation. And we find that if you have presenters that thoroughly understand these 3 things, how are you going to interact, what are you going to say and how are you going to say it, and what's the purpose of the presentation and the message delivery, then what you end up with is the pinnacle of success. You end up with more sales and a better presentation. So, we have 3 stages in the training course. Number one is the message. We call this moving from how to why, because in a sales environment, what most people do is talk about what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. And the prospect doesn't really care. The prospect wants to know, why am I going to choose you rather than somebody else? And yes, you might have to delve into this is what we're going to do and how we're going to do it in order to prove that you can drive more value. But fundamentally, it's a different structure to the communication if we're answering the right question, which is, this is why you should choose me. Then the language is about primarily getting people to listen to what they say and how they say it, and make sure that it comes across in a way that says it's about the prospect, it's not about the seller. And that we call moving from we to you. If I say, we will double your sales by improving your sales presenter's performance, that sounds like I'm going to do it to you. Whereas if I say, if you could double your sales because your presenters understood what they were going to do, now we're talking about you and not me, and that's much more effective. And then the interaction is something we call moving from 2D to 4D. Now, 2D is where we put up a self-explanatory slide and then waffle on about it. And 4D is what you're looking at now, where I'm actually interacting with what you're seeing. And that interaction and the interaction with the audience is what's meant by step 3, moving from 2D to 4D. And all of these 3 key steps have been delivered in a 2-day training program. Day 1 is about the theory and the learning. So we delve into cognitive psychology, behavioral psychology, the science that underpins how people pay attention, how people synthesize information, and therefore how should we present information in a way that compels people to pay attention and listen and therefore understand. It's also, there's some psychology in there about persuasiveness. So how do you persuade people to your point of view? How do you prove your arguments? How do you construct and write a presentation that doubles or trebles your sales? Day 2 then is about putting that into practice, and we get people to stand up and deliver a presentation, and the audience get to see that presentation 6 or 7 times, and each time we reset the exercises so that they see different things and learn from watching their colleagues. And that requires an overnight where there's a bit of preparation and a bit of practice so that we can pull out all of the learning out of day 2. And we've had 10,000 delegates go through the training program in the last 20 years, and almost all of them have given us exemplary feedback. And all of that feedback then allows us to continually refine it and improve it so that the training course just keeps getting better and better and better. And the reason we do that is because for us, every one of these delegates is a salesperson. And every one of those salespeople is in a marketplace where they have to win. And that's important because at Vincis, we believe winning is everything.